Hi, this is Courtney Watson, Dr. Courtney Watson of the Los Angeles Sparks, and you are watching The Cover.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Cover. I'm your host, Dania Haughton. On today's episode, we are joined by Dr. Courtney Watson, head athletic trainer for the LA Sparks. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, how are you? How is everything? How is life in the bubble?
Life in the bubble is interesting. It's a very unique experience here. I actually just finished my COVID testing. So we're on day 45, and we have done COVID testing every single day since we've been here. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way for the day before we begin practice and preparation for our game tomorrow. So it's been very interesting, but it's been a very surreal and a blessed moment for me to be here and to help our girls and to, understand what our goal is for being here and just trying to obtain that goal and stay safe and healthy all at the same time. So it's going well so far. It's a grind, but it's going well.
So what does a typical day look like for you in the bubble? What is your schedule kind of like? I guess it depends maybe on whether or not you have a game, but what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, well, a day in the bubble, like I said, we've been here for over a month now. We're approaching a time where we have games often, so every other day. So we just finished a 6 game in 10 day span. And so, everything moves very quickly and we just have to plan it out. So preparation is key right now. So I focus every week on setting some short-term, long-term goals, making sure that I take care of myself and also be prepared to help the girls feel the best that they can for every game. With the fast turnaround, it requires so much recovery. So I spend a lot of time helping them understand how to keep their body strong and to stay hydrated and to make sure that we're taking our time with stretching and, preparation for what it takes to feel the best that they can going into these games. Like I said, we do COVID testing every single day. And so, and then we just plan our time around that with eating and making sure our nutrition is proper. But we have some fun time and some downtime, but it's not a lot. So we're a very tight team. We're like a family, and we always have been like a family, but more so now because we see each other every single day. But it's fun at the same time. We count our blessings each day, but we prepare and we grind it out and understand, like I said, what our goal is for being here to ultimately win another championship for LA, for the Sparks, for ourselves, and for our team, for each other. So that's kind of what our days are consistent of. We have about 3-hour practices, 3-hour blocks. And that includes like the weight training and, after practice, I have all the girls work on the recovery. So it's a pretty full day each day, but I try to really encourage them to get as much rest as possible as well. So everything is kind of flowing into, looking like the same day each day, but it just comes new challenges each time as well.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the benefits of being in the bubble and being, having access to the players, I guess every day? What are kind of the benefits of that? And what are the benefits on, recovery post game without having, to travel for games?
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest part and the most enjoyable part for me is the wear and tear that doesn't happen from them not having to be on flights. I mean, all of us, we used to, especially being in Los Angeles on the West Coast, we would fly back and forth to New York and to Indiana and to Connecticut and, play a lot of games in a little bit of time, but also that flight time that we don't have to focus on. It really allows the players to feel a lot better just taking that out of the equation. And so I count our blessings for that. That we don't have to be back and forth on the flights right now. We're just stationary. We have to stay here, which has its challenges within itself as well, because sometimes you just want to go and do your normal routines of eating your favorite food or, going to the beach or, finding some relaxation. So coming up with creative ideas to help the girls feel as comfortable and try to create a home environment is what I really focus on with my girls right now when they come to our team villa, which is where I live, but it's also a place where we recover and balance out our physical, mental health, and that's so important right now for everybody to have a well-balanced, health and process of discipline and knowing what it takes to feel good each day and try to create a surrounding that's a balance for them, because it is challenging not being at home, but we're here and we know what we came for. I said, if you didn't want to come, you shouldn't have come out, and not be able to bring your best. And so we're just making it as comfortable of a situation each day that we can to feel good. So I'm so thankful we don't have to fly and that we can be in a safe environment and a protected environment as well, that we can continue to just focus on our goal and stay centered that way.
Yeah. So, what are kind of some of those mindfulness or mental health exercises or things that you do with the sparks to kind of keep them ready and keep them centered while in the bubble?
Yeah, well, a few things, just counting our blessings from the beginning. Early in the morning, I send messages often to the girls to remind them of things like staying hydrated. Having enough water in your system is so important daily, anytime, but specifically right now, because we're in a place where, the weather, the temperature is so humid out here in Florida. It's a lot different than California. Some players, they're not from LA, so they don't understand, the great weather and things that we have there that helps balance a lot. So I encourage them to stay hydrated, to focus and, whatever their form of prayer is in that positive space. We also talk about different apps, whether it's the mindful apps of like Calm or Headspace, and try to be consistent with finding some time for meditation. I encourage that a lot. I know I've turned my meditation style up because it requires centeredness, it requires balance, it requires focus, and it requires just time that you can spend with yourself to recognize like all the great things around you, but all the blessings that we have as well each day. So that's one big part of it. I also encourage everyone to do yoga on their own, and find some time to stretch and rest their minds and their bodies and find that connection between the two. So I give tips on that. And we do it during practice because we play all these games every other day, more or less. We don't have a lot of time in between. So I take about 15 to 20 minutes pre-practice to do stretching and to do activation work and a lot of prehab so that their bodies can, get acclimated to every day, the struggles and the benefits of knowing how to balance it out. It just takes time and preparation. But then also the digestive issues that we also face. So having a strong immune system and understanding that process as we're moving through as females, what's the important ways for us to stay feeling good and to feel healthy and whole. So we talk about a lot of vitamins and supplements, and being consistent with that process is so important right now for all of us. And so I just try to set good examples and show forms of leadership in that way to hold everyone accountable for making sure that they're taking care of themselves and creating a balanced platform as we're focusing on our goal at the same time.
Yeah, so I know stretching is important and you kind of touched on it a little bit. But what are kind of some of those targeted areas, especially when you're working with female athletes, that you make sure those muscles are kind of stretched out before a game or before practice?
Well, deep breathing is a very huge part of getting your body to get a lot of oxygen circulating around. And we also focus on elevation of the legs. I encourage my girls to stretch and elevate. Elevate is just a proper way of getting your heart rate to relax. So you just put your legs up on the wall or on the floor or on the bed and allow your blood flow to move back towards your heart. That's a huge thing for just anyone to be able to make sure that their blood circulating, their heart's relaxing, and allowing any inflammation in the body to kind of move back towards the heart to create a better flow in the system. So every day I ask them how many times they elevate. I encourage them to do it when they wake up or when they go to sleep or after a game or after practice. That's a huge part. And then just finding time to do a lot of glute training, a lot of footwork and glute training. We all need that as well, because if you keep your glutes strong, your body pretty much feels really good. You don't really wear on your joints a lot. So understanding that process as well. Like I said, we play games every other day right now. So there's an activation system that we do with resistant bands and, really allowing the girls to get their foundation together. And that's a part of it. So within the stretching of the lower body, upper body, total body stretching, but also the prehab portion is what we focus on as well. And then the elevation factor, so we can help create a good circulation, system for ourselves. Because it's common to after a game, after practice, your body feels a little fatigued. You feel, like you need some rejuvenation. So the recovery process, these are just all little tactics to help them recover better, and in addition to the hydration part as well. So.
And so these techniques that you're using in between games, especially with the pace of the schedule, have those changed because you're in the bubble, or are those kind of the same kind of practices that you use in a typical season?
They're a lot of the same practices that I use, but I'm a lot more adamant about making sure that they get it done. It's one thing for me just to suggest a few things. It's another thing for me to see that they're not feeling so good today, or that they have stomach issues today, or that they're just tired and wish they were at home. And so when your body is tired, you are more susceptible to injury. When your body is tired, you have more digestive issues, so we try to tackle those things. And like I said, I hold them a lot more accountable now than I did before. Whereas before I was just suggesting options and things that would do to make them feel good. Now I'm asking them questions like, so how much water did you drink today? Try to create that mindfulness way of making sure that everybody understands that, like, we need this now, especially during this time, but it requires you guys to, I can't do all the work for you. You have to challenge yourselves and focus on what you need to do to feel good as well. So it just comes with time. But I would say last season, this is my 13th season with the Sparks. So I think now I have a little bit more experience, as well as a lot of the vet girls have that same experience, so they know what I'm expecting. But it allows me to really focus on a lot of the new players and helps them, with those who didn't have those same types of background or foundation to get going with.
So when you're evaluating like player readiness for games or even for practice, how do you identify that? What kind of things are you looking for when you're looking at, are they performance ready? Are they game ready? What is that kind of process like when you're evaluating the athletes for game readiness?
A lot of it is recognizing the relationship factor. And, I worked on that before we got to the bubble, especially for the new girls on our team. You have to know them. They have to trust you. They have to believe that you know what you're talking about. So a lot of them understand that I'm all about education and knowledge, so I teach a lot. I was a teacher prior to me working in professional sports all the way. I worked in high school sports and high school education for 15 years. And so my transition in between that, it helped me realize that, like, you really have to teach and help them understand what works best for them, and just give them options. I make sure that I talk to them daily. I check on them, the ones that I know that, not feeling so well or they feel great. I want Candace Parker, for instance, to continue to feel good. So I just text with her right before I talk to you, just to see how she's doing. And, if there's anything that we can do today to make her feel good for our game tomorrow. We just played last night. So sometimes these games feel like back-to-back games. So it takes communication, it takes me to understand what makes them feel good and try to keep pushing them to feel better, considering that. I push them to get in the ice bath. That's a big part of our recovery process as well. You may have seen that. We have big tubs outside of our villa where we live now. And I say in a message each night after a game, like, I expect all of you guys to be in there tomorrow, 15 minutes, make sure that if it's not cold enough that we add more ice, or, just really put them in a position to just help them feel better. So it takes communication. It takes me looking at their face and seeing that they look a little dehydrated. That happened about a week ago. I can look at my player's face and see that she just didn't seem as vibrant as she could, and that maybe she needed to hydrate a lot more. So I just question them a lot. I challenge them a lot. I help them understand their hydration number, which is a number that everyone should know what their hydration number is. I did my dissertation work for my doctorate program on hydration. And it's just understanding how much water your body needs daily. And so my girls know how much water their body needs daily. And so I ask them and, check on them and send them messages about drinking more or finding options to not make water be so boring with drinking, daily. But it's necessary right now because we got to turn around and do the same thing all over again. Last night we played at 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast. And so that transition to resting better after the game is challenging.
Right.
So it comes with hydration, it comes with balance, it comes with finding ways to like wind down and know by now, we've 10, 11 games into the season, what that takes to make them feel good. So it's about me just communicating a lot what works for them to feel. Mm-hmm.
So, what are kind of some of the techniques that you use to help them wind down after you have, one of those late game sessions? Because I know that there's a lot of adrenaline they're still kind of running off of. So, how do you
Yeah.
help them work through that process of relaxing their body?
Yeah. Again, I teach a lot of, I love the essential oils. That's been a great addition to my just teaching for them, using essential oils. We have to wear masks daily. Everywhere you'll see our masks, we wear them all the time. Sometimes that can kind of really taint your breathing a little bit. And I know it does for me. I wear the mask the whole game, So just cool tactics with essential oil has been rewarding. If you put 1 or 2 drops of some peppermint oil in the mask, it helps you with, and it helps you with calmness. It helps you with headaches. It helps you with soreness. So I'd like to incorporate that. I did that yesterday with a player who was just having some breathing issues or a little bit of asthma signs. And I put a little peppermint oil during the game, in her hand and made her rub it and smell her hands and inhale it and just kind of slow her breathing down. And she's like, wow, you fixed me. You fixed that. How did you do that? And it's just knowing what works, and we talked about it again just now. She texted me and she's like, hey, I need more of that essential oil, So options like that has been cool. Again, elevation, when they're resting and in their bed, I tell them, 15, 20 minutes, just put your feet on the headboard and just allow your blood flow to move back to your heart. That helps you rest. That helps your body slow down the inflammation process of just being fatigued and overworking themselves after a game. So I talk about that a lot. And then drinking hot teas and warm water. I sent a message out last night after our game that, these are some options for you guys. Turn your cell phone light down. Turn your cell phone off for a little bit. Give yourself that space to do something that's relaxing for you. We do puzzles. We do jigsaw puzzles. And a lot of athletes don't really do that. But that's also very calming to the system and to the brain to kind of start slowing down too. So the players who haven't experienced that on our team, they said, you always find things to just tell us to do. And I said, because you have to challenge your brain to feel good. You have to know what it takes to move it up and to turn it down. And so sharing things like that with the oils and elevation and, drinking warm water and hot teas and things like that really helps them with focusing on rest as well.
Yeah. So prior to the start of the season, were there any concerns that you had about going into the bubble and what your work would kind of look like with the athletes? And have there been any challenges that you faced since the start of the season being in the bubble?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had a lot of concerns, being having this amount of experience as a WNBA athletic trainer. I knew that it would take a specific focus for being here and for a that would be away from home during the summer months with something such as COVID, especially with what's going on in Florida. The numbers were skyrocket here. And I just had a hard time understanding why we were coming here originally. I knew that there were other teams and leagues that were moving to Florida for it as well. But I had a hard time with the travel aspect. I didn't want to be on a plane myself. So how could I expect my players to be on a plane? But I knew that I had to set myself up and my team and everybody who was coming here on behalf of the Sparks to do as much as I can prior to us getting here. And so it was conversations with our doctors, our team doctors who have been great for us, with learning as much as we can about COVID as possible, learning as much about traveling and protection. learning as much as about our immune system and our immune health. It's like you have to be prepared. If you're going to travel, you got to make sure that you have all that you need to help you be protected in a plane. So I was giving as many tips as I could, but a lot of it came from the research and the backings of our team physicians as well, and making sure that we were doing everything that we could to stay safe. I told them from the beginning we would have Zoom calls once a week, with the other athletic trainers here, with the coaches, with our team, with the players, and just never forget that health and safety is number one. It has to be our number one priority. You can't go any days where you just don't feel like that is what the number one priority is. So making sure that you're staying hydrated, making sure that your body is centered and ready to go, making sure that you have all the things that you need to eat on your own and to feel good for a couple hours, because we're going from Los Angeles. Some of us were coming from LA straight to Florida, which was like a 7-hour, trip. And so that part of knowing how to recognize anxiety and entering this space, but staying protected as well, was what we did and what we focused on coming into it. And also the part of us getting tested, we had to get tested 3 times with the saliva test prior to us coming to the bubble. And that process, it brought us closer together, because, we didn't really know. You can be asymptomatic at that point. And I hadn't taken any COVID tests because I was really doing a lot of social distancing and staying at home. And so I hadn't done it myself. So it was very interesting, that process. I'm thankful that there was testing that were provided for us, and that everyone from our team, had negative tests, had 3 negative tests before we left. Some teams didn't have that. So I had to kind of help them see all the great things that was happening with us, and how we had to challenge ourselves to continue to be as healthy and as safe. So I was pretty tough. A lot of the girls who know me, they know I'm, lovable and fun, and I work hard at what I do, but I had to kind of straighten up and say, hey, this is not a joke. This is not fun times. There's a lot of seriousness that goes behind, recognizing that factor is like top of the line for all of us. So I wouldn't let them hang out with others. We made our own team rules. And I said, you cannot hang out with other players on the team. You cannot socialize outside of our own crew. We didn't really know what was going to happen. So we had to make sure that we were doing everything that we could to control what we could while we were approaching the pre-bubble stage of being here,
So kind of in that pre-bubble stage, how were you able to, I guess, vary your workouts or keep the players engaged and then get them ready to enter the bubble?
Yeah, so what we did as a coaching staff, we came up with myself and our team doctors and our strength and conditioning coach and a few of my members of our sports medicine staff. We came up with some ideas to create a package for each of the players while they were at home working in the pre-training camp stage. So you would basically have your own training camp, which included bands and bikes. Our owners were fortunate enough, we're fortunate to have great owners to help us create packages for the players that help them with, a weighted jump rope and, resistant bands and TRX bands, a lot of strength training things. A lot of exercises and programs were set up for the girls, and we would send it to them daily. We would make sure that we had our Instagram page that was just for our team, and it was a training camp page. And we would offer insight. I would introduce all the members of my medical team. I would have a physical therapy Zoom call that each player would come on, and we would evaluate their bodies and their injuries that they had and provide programs for them to do at home. Sometimes they required equipment. We would send the equipment to them. Sometimes it just required their time and a daily, daily plan for them to work on whatever it is, from flexibility to strength to just injury management, and just kind of really see and assess what issues they had that we couldn't, that we could help remotely. And so the Zoom time and the telemedical systems that were in place really helped us kind of get a little step ahead with once we were able to get together as a team here in the bubble. So that was a huge part for everyone to already kind of come into the system with a setup program, for what would help them be just a few steps ahead. Because it's nothing like playing basketball on the court when you're on the court. If you don't have that court part, you can get as much as you want out of it, but it's still not a game shape that they look for. And so it was important for me to say, okay, we can't get on the courts yet, but what can we do? So having a proper system and a proper goal set up for them was really important for us at the pre-bubble stage.
Yeah, so when you were doing those kind of evals virtually and over a teleconference, how did those work? What did those look like? Were you asking them to do certain movements and then asking them how they felt, or what was that kind of like?
Yeah, so we have great physical therapists. I'm so fortunate to have a cool team of athletic trainers and physical therapists, massage therapists. I have one of my assistants here that was able to join us in the bubble. He's a massage therapist. And so the girls were very familiar with working with him. All the new players learned a lot about him once he got here. But yeah, it was just a great platform that we started off with for these evaluations because it helped us get to understand the players and their movement.
Mhm.
So we would look at their medical history. If they had injuries that we didn't know about, or the ones that did have injuries that we knew about, we would have them do a Zoom call time with our physical therapist, myself, and all the other few members of our team. And we would watch them go through different movements, different functional movements, ask them questions, just sit down the first few minutes about, their shoulder, for instance, and what hurt and when did it last? Did you have a surgery, or, what issues do you have? And then we would have them move through different, range of motion tests and do different special tests that we could watch and view and record and then go back and study it. And that's how we practiced for ourselves. It was a great, pre-training camp for the sports medicine team. Now we can focus on each girl and provide a program that's specific to them to help them get better and it worked really well for us. So the girls were impressed with it. We challenged them each week to get better, to reassess it afterwards and figure out what else we needed to do, or to see if they were prepared for coming into the training camp once we got here, because that was a challenge, having training camp all of a sudden. How much are you ready? We wanted to be able to make sure that we would create the safest grounds for them to come in the training camp as possible. So I think we did a good job with setting up those calls and watching all their movements and providing programs for them.
Yeah, and so I guess when you're watching a game or a practice, how do you see the game? How are you watching the game? What kind of things are you looking for?
Yeah, every there was an ESPN little clip that went out the other day that focused on me, and I was like, wow, I'm serious. I really have to watch every single play, every single movement that happens. And just I usually have more eyes. I have other athletic trainers, other my interns, and different people, the physical therapists, the doctors, even sitting at a game so that we all can see what happens. Or in a game, we got to watch every single play. It's important to pay attention to that part, right? And so sometimes it's just myself and my assistant. Of course you have the players and the coaches, but everybody has to kind of stay in their lane. So I just do the best job I can with focusing on watching their movement, watching if they're compensating or if they're limping or something, with any of their injuries that they just had or they're recovering back from. We have a pretty fairly healthy team, and I'm thankful for it. Right now, it matters that every game counts, every practice counts. Some days it's important for me not to practice every girl. The ones who are a little bit more on the vet side, we know that we need them during that game. We have to do things that's going to help them feel good. We don't never have too much of a stressful practice, and you're just trying to recover the best we can and focus on what the next game brings, because every game has its own challenges. But I just do my best with watching movement, watching energy, watching their facial expressions on certain plays that didn't feel good, and then if they kind of continue to feel that way, I have to communicate with the coaches. I have to check on them during timeouts, and I have to really help me and my assistant do the best that we can to watch as much as we can with each each play that happens. So it's a tight time. You got to be focused and prepared for that part too.
Has there been anything that has surprised you about life in the bubble or about, your work in the bubble through these first 10 or 11 games in the season?
You know, we could say that this is something that we'll never experience. I never thought I would experience this. And it's like, wow, we're here, we're a month in, we've adjusted, we've made a lot of adjustments. And I'm thankful for them. I wouldn't have preferred to be with another team. I wouldn't have preferred to be with I'm thankful for those girls that we have 12 players and each person gives it their all, and we hold each other accountable for that too. Myself, there's 8 staff members and 12 players here. And I have an assistant within those 8. And then there's coaches and operations managers of some sort, And so we each are one big family, the Sparks family here. And then we have our extended family, and we refer to them often, our personal families at home. That balance is important. But I know it's natural to miss our home. It's natural to miss where we're from. It's natural to miss the fans. We have a great fan support. And so, missing those things. We're playing in a gym with no fans. We have 3 or 4 fans that are family members that were able to come here in the bubble. So we're all cheering each other on. And that matters so much, because we all know what we put into it. There's a few of us that are roommates with each other. Some players live in a hotel room, so they're by themselves. It's a good little balance of family living, villa living. I live with an assistant coach and our social media marketing manager. And we all work well together. We all eat often times, we'll make meals together. We had a team bonding party last weekend after we played 6 games in 10 days. And that was fun. It reminded me of being home, where we had egg toss and water balloons and, ate really good seafood and, played games and enjoyed each other. And so that's important. That's really important for us. And, it's shocking every now and then, like, oh, we're still here. We can't leave, I'm from LA, and we don't have a lot of the wildlife that's out here in Florida. So that part for me was a little bit much, raccoons and armadillos and spiders and stuff. I'm like, what is this, But adjusting to that is a big part of being in the bubble, but also recognizing that, like, we're here. If you're going to be here, you're going to wake up and feel good each day. You got to challenge yourself to just bring your best, and so that's what I do for myself. And I enjoy the girls. I feel weird because one day we didn't have practice. I think it was the day you and I had spoke before, and it was our off day. Mm-hmm. And it was like our first or second off day since we've been here, so we decide that on those off days we don't see each other. You stay in your area, I stay in mine. You don't ask me for anything. I'll make sure that if you need some therapy or treatment that you do what you can. But it feels weird when we don't see each other almost. The next day it's like we come together, we miss each other. But it does require having self-time, you know what I mean, and rest time. And so we just try to find a balance with that, make sure that we all get our rest when we can. So it's fun.
So speaking of balance, when I was doing my research, I saw some TikTok videos that you were making with the players. So is that a regular occurrence in the bubble?
I never thought that I would be doing a TikTok video. I have to say, I've seen my little nephews and my kids around that, do those videos. And so I learned something new, somehow I walked right into so it was on media day, and I walked right into the girls doing it. And they're like, come on, Court, come on, you got to do it with us. And so I'm like, I don't know how to do this. She's like, I'll teach you, So it's my rookie, Taya. She taught me how to do the moves for the TikTok video. And the next thing I know, it went viral. It was funny. And then Holly Rose, she's one of the ESPN analysts, and she's done great job with giving us a lot of coverage out here in the WNBA bubble. And so she's been a follower and, of mine and of our team, and she's been great. And so she saw when she came to come visit our team and kind of watch over and get some footage of us, she's like, I loved your video. You're doing a TikTok. She goes, I always wanted to do one. And the next thing I know, we're doing one with her. And I'm like, oh gosh. But it was fun. You got to live a little. I think that was my message with it. It's just, you got to live a little and learn something new each day. And so, yeah, hopefully not too many more. My rookie sent me a new one and she's like, hey, we got to do this one. And I'm like, that's a little too advanced for me. I don't know if I'm ready for that. And she's like, well, you're going to be ready. So I said, let's just win for now. And we keep winning and I'll find another space for a TikTok video. So yeah, I'm just learning to have fun a little bit more too.
Yeah, so that was a little fun note to end the interview on. I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and sharing your knowledge and sharing, a little bit about life in the bubble. We really appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Good luck to you. So proud to see that you are creating platforms and, speaking on things that a lot of people don't really recognize and see, but, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes just the passion, so I'm happy for you that you have and you're finding and filling in your passion and, hopefully we can do it again soon. It's really important I just wish everyone could continue to take care of themselves and, protect themselves and stay healthy and stay safe wherever you are, whether you're in a bubble living like we are, or whether you're at home and you're having to still work remotely from home. Stay focused and just keep enjoying the opportunities and experiences that you have. So good for you too.
Thank you so much.